Levi's words sounded like the Grim Reapers calling to Melissa and her friends. Thud. Melissa and 38 other members of the senior management knelt on the floor. Thump. They slammed their foreheads against the ground frantically. All of them did not seem to care, even as their foreheads were bleeding. That was the least of their concerns, because they sensed death closing in on them. William Hanks and Melissa Floyd were feeling the most fear out of everyone who knelt on the ground. Because William was the one that suggested the gathering, while Melissa orchestrated the rest. Levi's voice rang beside William's ears all of a sudden. "I am still your boss." He was telling the truth. Levi waved his hand. "The rest of you stand behind me." Everyone did not understand Levi's intention, but they gathered behind him anyway. Melissa Floyd and 38 other people were the only ones left kneeling inside the spacious meeting room. They did not stop slamming their heads against the floor. Many were already bleeding profusely from their foreheads. "Please forgive us, Mr. Garrison. We've made a mistake. We've committed a grave error. Oh, how we regretted our actions. Why did we provoke Levi Garrison? This is all William's fault. We would not have sought revenge against Levi in the first place if it were not for him. Levi Garrison was long gone from our minds previously." Everyone shot a resentful look toward William Hanks. They wanted so badly to rip him apart. Levi remained indifferent while they begged him for mercy. He ordered loudly, "Bring the things here." Over a dozen muscular men clad in black outfit entered the meeting room at once. Each of them carried a tightly sealed wooden barrel with unknown content. The people kneeling on the floor felt their hearts sank with a thud as they sensed something bad was about to happen. Looking at those tightly sealed barrels, Levi grinned. "Don't you guys enjoy showing off your allures by soaking yourselves in champagne? Let me fulfill your desires today." The burly men removed the caps of the barrels right after Levi waved his hands. So smelly. A horrible stench filled the room instantly. Everyone felt as if they fell into a cesspit because the reek was unbearable. Could it be? Everyone had guessed the content of the barrels. Manure. Whoosh. The muscular men dumped over 10 barrels of manure over the heads of Melissa and her gang. Levi deliberately prepared a manure shower for them. "Argh," they shrieked. All of them dressed glamorously for the meeting, but they were now covered in manure from heads to toes. The filth even entered their mouths. The others, who witnessed the scene, could never imagine that the highly paid elites of the society were met with such an outcome. This is the worst punishment ever. These people are now fired and permanently blacklisted from re-entering Levi Group. Levi announced. Hysterical wails filled the meeting room once again. That penalty meant that our lives are officially ruined. Levi glanced at the miserable crowd and added, "Elena Holmes will be Morris Group's finance department director from now on." Unprecedented excitement washed over Elena. "This is unbelievable. Not only am I not fired from the company, but I am also promoted to the department director's position. This unexpected turn of events is happening only because I stood up against them last night." Melissa and her friends were astounded to hear Elena's promotion. Karma really is a bitch. Levi straightened himself and ordered coldly, "Clean up the mess, especially those trashes. I don't want to see them in here anymore." "Yes, sir." Kieran nodded. Levi led the rest of the crowd to another meeting room. Members of Garrison Group's senior management were waiting for them in that room. The first thing that Levi did was to incorporate Garrison Group into Levi Group. The Garrison family had prepared everything, so all Levi had to do was to sign the papers. The ceremony to change the company's name was held after all preparations were in place. All the reporters from every major media and newspaper gathered to witness the ceremony. A stage and various equipment were installed on the spacious plaza in front of Levi Group's building. Levi remained hidden as usual. He sat inside his office, casting his gaze outside the window with the entire Northampton's view spanned before him. He could observe the happenings at the plaza clearly from where he sat. Kieran would be the person to attend the ceremony this time. But he wore sunglasses to cover up his face as usual. "Should I attend the ceremony now, sir?" "Go ahead." At that moment, Levi could see a few mysterious and unwelcome guests lurking around the venue as his eyes swept through the crowd. They are probably men from the Northampton Chamber of Commerce or other business competitors. I suppose they are here to investigate Neil Atkinson's identity. The name-changing ceremony began at 10 o'clock. Kieran walked up the stage with all eyes on him. The reporters spammed the shutters on their camera continuously. Countless powerful men in the industry began searching for Kieran's background information as his pictures and videos spread like wildfire. But Kieran's sunglasses fulfilled its function as everyone had a hard time recognizing his facial features. Their intensive search resulted in nothing. No one could figure out anything about Neil Atkinson. Standing next to Neil were the people in charge of Levi Group and Garrison Group previously. Mr. and Mrs. Atkinson attended the ceremony as well. They wanted to witness that significant moment. Kieran made the official announcement. Levi Group and Garrison Group has signed a merger agreement earlier. These two corporations will join forces from now on and operates under the name Morris Group. Bam! A stir rippled across the crowd as ceremonial flowers shot up into the sky. Mr. and Mrs. Atkinson were tear-stricken. They looked up the sky and sobbed. "Are you seeing this, son? The company is now named after you." The reporters were getting impatient at that point. "May I know what's your relationship with Mr. Morris Atkinson, Mr. Atkinson? Please describe your relationship with Mr. Neil Atkinson, Mr. Rowan Atkinson." The reporters were very interested in the relationship between the two parties. Kieran smiled pensively. "Relationship? Well, all I can say is that we're a family." Kieran's statement provided food for thought for the reporters. There was obviously a hidden meaning behind his words. But none of the reporters could figure out what he was implying. They tried to sound Kieran out with further questions, but Kieran answered without revealing anything. The question and answer session with the reporters ended swiftly. The subsequent segment was the highlight of the ceremony. They were going to change the inscribed board of the company from Levi Group to Morris Group. The name-changing ceremony could only be considered a success after they changed the inscribed board. The workers quickly brought the new board over and removed the old, inscribed board for Levi Group. Kieran was about to hang the new inscribed board to officiate the event when chaos erupted at the scene. "Something is happening. Look over there!" Someone shouted all of a sudden. Over 100 men clad in black clothes appeared out of nowhere and headed in the direction of the stage. They wore face masks to cover up their faces and wielded baseball bats in each of their hands. Everyone was frightened by the imposing manner of those scary men. "Break everything. Crash this whole place," the man leading the way shouted. The men in black hastened their steps and surged forward. The media and the guests of honor gathered around the stage were startled. All hell broke loose at the scene. The men had only one goal. They wanted to disrupt the name-changing ceremony and thoroughly discredit Neil Atkinson as well as Levi Group. All of them raised the baseball bats in their hands and rushed forward. They were merely 50 meters away from the venue. Levi witnessed everything from the president's office. A voice was heard through the earpiece Levi was wearing. "Sir, all 30 snipers have locked on to the targets. Please provide us with further instruction." No one knew that a few teams of snipers had surrounded Levi Group's building by positioning themselves in the skyscrapers nearby. The snipers aimed their rifles at the incoming mob. They had been waiting for those men in black to show up. Levi gave the order as the mob moved closer to the crowd. "Shoot." Azure Dragon relayed Levi's order as he commanded. "Attention to all sniper teams. Shoot. I repeat. Shoot." 30 snipers began to execute the order simultaneously. The man charging ahead of the mob lost his balance and fell face first to the floor. Thump. The rest of the men armed with baseball bats were shot after a split second, and they fell onto the ground as well. Kirin and the others stared at the astonishing sight as over 100 men fell onto the ground and stayed motionless afterward. No one expected that to happen. What's wrong with them? Why are they lying on the ground now? They were charging toward us just a few moments ago. Everyone was puzzled, including those lying on the floor. The angry mob lay on the ground with their bodies numbed. They could not muster any strength regardless of how hard they tried. No one could figure out what had actually happened. Inside the president's office, Azure Dragon's voice was heard from the earpiece. "Sir, the sniper teams had accomplished their mission. Well done. Retreat," Levi commanded. The snipers disappeared without a trace upon receiving the order. The snipers had loaded their rifles with shots containing anesthetics instead of real bullets. The dose of the anesthetic shots was potent enough to paralyze even an elephant. Most importantly, the shots would not leave any visible wound on the skin. Kirin addressed the crowd after everyone calmed down. "Well, it seems like there's a lot of people that are eager to congratulate us for the success of this name-changing ceremony. I am beyond honored. Thank you." The people lying on the ground felt extremely uncomfortable. Their bodies would not move, so they could not escape even if they wanted to. In the end, all of them bore witness as Kirin changed the new inscribed board and officially renamed the company to Morris Group. Xavier Fields sent his men to capture the entire mob after the ceremony ended. The anesthetics wore off by the time they arrived at the police station. They had no way to figure out what happened to them at that point. But none of them could escape punishment for harassing the public. Those men were actually recruited by the Northampton Whirlwind Security Company. A few elderlies gathered beside a famous lake in Northampton. They were Eric Robinson, Baldwin Williamson, and the gang. Clifford Anderson said grimly. "But that's impossible. I did not turn to the underworld bosses for help because I wanted a secured outcome. So I deliberately assigned this task to the prestigious Whirlwind Security Company. I requested them to complete the task as quickly as possible and flee the scene afterward. I did not expect them to commit such a blunder." Wallace Henderson was caught in perplexity. "That's right. Most of the men recruited by Whirlwind Security Company are ex-policemen and ex-soldiers. They are well known for their efficiency and skills. I heard the team leaders were even mercenaries in the past. So why did they fall flat on their face all of a sudden?" Eric took a deep breath. This must be Neil Atkinson's doing. He made the preparations in advance. But I do not understand how all of them fell at the same time. Even those men who experienced that bizarre fall did not know what happened to them. Baldwin stroked his chin. "Perhaps we underestimated Neil Atkinson. By the way, have you figured out his identity yet?" The rest of them shook their heads. "We've utilized all our connections to investigate his identity. But nothing came up. His information seems to be classified." At that moment, the heir to the Anderson family, Virgil Anderson, walked hastily toward the elderlies. "Father, uncles, the Vice Commander-in-Chief, Mr. Hoyles, from the war zone has updated me with the latest news. He told me he is somewhat familiar with Neil Atkinson, and he is still investigating this matter. He wanted me to reassure all of you to be patient because he will find out Neil's identity sooner or later. Eric Robinson's son, Sheldon Robinson, brought news as well. Mr. Cook told me Neil came from the Northwest region. He is still trying to look into other aspects of his background. Grover's information was accurate. Kieran was indeed serving the army in the Northwest War Zone. Haha. That's great. We will observe Morris Group's plan for now, Eric said. Clifford nodded. I've dealt with Whirlwind Security Company. The Northampton Chamber of Commerce will have nothing to do with them. Inside Morris Group, Levi proposed future development plans for the company. We lack staff at the moment because we fired a lot of executives previously. Moreover, we've recently acquired Garrison Group as well. First, we have to recruit the company's veterans who left due to pressure in the past. Then we will absorb talents from all over Arudia into our company. Kieran scratched his head embarrassingly. I am adept at war and training soldiers, sir. But doing business is not my forte. The Northampton Chamber of Commerce had taken control of Levi Group's core technology. But these pieces of information has been carved into my mind. We will produce similar products as them and sell our items at a lower price. Levi smiled cunningly. Kieran gave him a thumbs up. This is a brilliant move. Our products will certainly affect the existing market if we offer a more competitive price. More importantly, they've stolen our technology. So they cannot stir up trouble either to prevent exposing their crime. They can only stand by and watch as Morris Group take over the entire market little by little. We cannot leave the vice president position empty. I need to find someone capable of taking up this responsibility. Have you found a suitable candidate? Levi asked. Kieran nodded. Yes, sir. I've shortlisted 2 very competent candidates. They will be here to attend the interview tomorrow. Levi was satisfied with Kieran's efficiency. Great. I will participate in the interview tomorrow to select the best candidate. Levi returned home late in the night. He spent some time chatting with Zoe. Zoe was amazed. Mr. Atkinson is so impressive. Evidently, she had seen the news report that day. Levi had the urge to inform her that Neil Atkinson did not know a thing in the field of business. Oh. Did you know? My best friend, Iris Annabelle, is returning from overseas. I'm a little busy tomorrow, so can you help me pick her up at the airport? Zoe asked. Okay. I'll pick her up tomorrow. Levi was acquainted with Iris too. She was a top beauty, on par with Zoe, in the past during their high school years. Iris is a very competent person. She obtained 2 master's degrees from 2 of the top universities in the country. Then she studied abroad and stayed there to develop her career in the finance industry. Zoe was curious. She's doing so well abroad at the moment. So why is she returning to the country all of a sudden? Levi was puzzled too. It's best to not try to figure out a woman's thought process. They are complicated beings, after all. What did she say to you? Levi asked. Zoe answered joyfully. She told me she's returning to Northampton to develop her career. She has even bought a house here. However, Zoe frowned slightly as confusion glinted in her mesmerizing eyes. I wonder which company in Northampton is capable of attracting Iris's attention. The next day, Levi drove Zoe's car to the airport early in the morning. Levi waited for a short while at the airport's exit before Iris Annabelle showed up. Iris was a slender woman at the height of 170 centimeters. Her long legs were even comparable to professional models. She wore a pair of Ferragamo high heels and a black coat. Iris appeared to be overbearing and indifferent while wearing a pair of shades on her delicate face. Her temperament was outstanding to the extent of convincing others to think of her as a famous star. Passers-by began taking photos of her with their phones. Iris recognized Levi immediately. She strode up to him and tossed him her luggage. "Send me to Morris Group before 9 o'clock. I'm in a hurry," she demanded. Levi felt helpless as he thought to himself. "I came all the way here to pick you up. Not only did you fail to show your gratitude, but you are treating me like your servant?" But he stuffed the luggage into the trunk anyway. "There's only an hour left. Hurry up," Iris ordered harshly after she eyed her expensive Patek Philippe wristwatch upon entering the car. "All right. I'll make sure you reach in time." Levi started the engine. Iris removed her shades, revealing her delicate facial features and flawless complexion. Iris Annabelle was definitely a woman with beauty comparable to that of Zoe Lopez. She sized up Levi. "You're still planning to stay by Zoe's side?" she asked out of the blue. "Why should I leave her?" Levi was bewildered. "Because you do not deserve her. Putting aside your poverty, the fact that you were imprisoned previously was sufficient to make you an unworthy partner for Zoe. I'm not discriminating against you, but your tainted record will affect Zoe's future. Her company is getting on the right track now. She will expand her business after receiving the investment from Morris Group. When that time comes, Zoe can finally cut ties with the Lopez family. She will be one of the most respectable figures in Northampton's business world. What about you? What can you contribute to her success, except being a burden for staying by her side? Others will jeer at her because of your bad record, not to mention the reason behind your imprisonment will be discussed behind Zoe's back when she's successful. You probably cannot fathom the impact of this issue, but you can see what I'm trying to tell you, right? You and Zoe will not benefit from staying together." Iris spoke eloquently as she bombarded Levi with her own opinions. She continued upon noticing Levi's silence. "Also, I no longer see any fighting spirit in you. You are no longer the same Levi Garrison from before. You bowed down in the face of harsh reality. The Levi Garrison from 6 years ago will not stoop so low as to chauffeur me from the airport." Levi glanced at Iris through the rearview mirror. He asked, So you have to get a divorce with Zoe. I will interfere and handle this matter once I settle down here," Iris said domineeringly.
This marks the end of chapter 215. Please like, share and subscribe to my channel and comment any other novel you would like to be featured here.